It might work. Crazy camera. That might work. Okay. Oh, okay, finally got that going. All right. All right. Got my tomato juice. You guys ever drink V8? Vroom, vroom. All right, welcome to the Dutchman's Wood Shack. So I've been on very that much. Been busy through the holiday season. It's January now, so a couple of things I want to talk about. Okay, so you guys have probably seen my finials I've been making, right? And I got one gluing up. See, but I've been making snowman and Christmas trees for ornaments. These will be for next year or next Christmas. Same thing, snowman. I might put these in on my train layout. Anyway, this is supposed to be for a magnifying glass. I just haven't gone and gotten it yet, but and it's made out of walnut. Okay, so now like this is made out of osage, which is, trees. Osage was actually an eastern tree. I think the way it goes is that this type of tree came over here from the settlers, and I'm in the Midwest, so it does this orange look. So now this is just basically what I did is I treated it with a what do they call it? Some of this stuff. I use that on here. I got to do it a couple of times. I only did it once, and it kind of dried out a little bit. This is why I tell people to use for butcher blocks. Butcher blocks, you can get the same thing. Howard's, pretty much anybody sells this. This is good for cutting boards and bowls that are going to be used for food. So today I wanted to talk about a couple of things: trees and wood species. Now, this branch I'm about to turn here is made out of, it's actually an old arborvitae branch. I've turned stuff before. I made Christmas trees and snowmen out of this stuff. Now, this is kind of I don't know how this is going to work trying to make a finial. um, because it's stringy. Now, you know what string cheese is like, right? String cheese, how it's, you can rip it off and eat it. Well, you know how it's stringy? Well, that's the reason why they call it string cheese. Hello. It may be a little bit difficult. Now, this stuff is off, it's off an arborvitae bush. Actually, it's off one of my bushes I cut off a couple years ago, so hopefully it's dried out enough. This is walnut. It's a pretty good sized piece of walnut, right? So I can make a lot of finials out of this if I want. Um, I'm just trying to come up with something different than Christmas ornaments because it's not Christmas, it's January, right? So, yeah. Okay, this is another piece. This is spalting. And when I say spalting, it's because it's decaying there. So, and that actually makes for good turning. So when I was making a finial earlier, or a Christmas ornament, a Christmas tree, I was using a piece of this off of another piece of wood that I cut off. It was 1 inch thick. So I did 1 inch by 1 inch, and it turned out really good. I made what they call a finial, and a couple of Christmas trees out of this. It worked out really good. So this is a scrap wood, and this is, I want to say this is probably pine, maybe pine. Yeah, the way the rings in the tree are, see that they're separated far apart from each other. Well, when they process trees and they go through a sawmill, they cut it a certain way. It's usually like this, standing up this way and not laying down. But when you look at this as a tree, all right, the rings are kind of curved this way. All right. Normally in wood, this is stronger way than this. So you can put something like this, and it'll hold more weight. If you put it like this, it's not, you can, not to say that, depending what if you get a long run, this is not the strongest way. This is. Now, this is a trim off an 1800s house. Or maybe it was, I scavenged a bunch of stuff out of a house one time. And I use this for a lot of stuff. Now, pine is a soft wood. Okay, so one of the things that when you're turning it has a tendency to do is it burrs. It leaves little pot marks. Unless you have really sharp tools, which I'm sure these aren't. This one is. This one isn't sharp. I need to sharpen it some more. But unless you have sharp tools, when you're gouging the tool, whether it's with this or with bowl gouge, where is that thing? I'm gonna put this over here. The bowl gouge will let you know if it's crap because this thing likes to kick out. Now, that I forget the type of. There's several different bowl gouges out there. This bowl gouge is one that I got with a kit of eight tools, or 10 tools, and I don't like to use it as much. It's tricky. It's not that I don't know how to use it. It's just I like using this. So my other bowl gouge, this bowl gouge here, I love. It's a bigger tool, and I have a little bit more control over this than I do that. This traditional, but see, I don't get into the traditional stuff as much because you're doing it it's not for convenience. You're just doing it because it's a tradition. Now, a lot of guys like to use this. There's different types, by the way. So that was a simple one. Okay, so there's other types. It's the way the heads are formed. One side might be pointed more than the other. And it just depends on what kind of wood turning you're doing. This one here, I love the most, but unfortunately, I haven't spent much time with my tools, and they're kind of used and abused. I think at this point, I have to change a head on that one, because I won't be using that. I'm just showing you guys today. So the idea with this, when I want to start it, was I was going to use this, and I was going to make a finial. Well, you can make the head to the finial. The idea is, now this is lighter colored wood, and then what I was going to do is put a piece of walnut on the bottom. Now, the two things you want to do, this is very critical when you're segmenting stuff. Try to keep soft woods with soft woods, hardwoods with hardwoods. If you mix soft woods with hardwoods, that's okay. But here's the thing. That piece of walnut I showed you, that's dark. And if you mix it with white, it has a tendency to bleed into the white. So let's say you're sanding it, like some of my bowls I had this issue with. If you're going across the grain, you're actually sanding. That's fine. When you look at it, it looks fine. And you got to take and do sanding it with the grain and not against the grain. The problem is when you go to finish it, all of a sudden you've got these marks on there, they're discoloration. It looks like somebody spit on it. So now, as far as finials, see, so, I guess the way I would say it, you get something like this. This is oak. This is red oak. This is a piece of wood oak flooring I've used. It's that tree. It's that tree. And here's a finial. Now this is forget the name of this. It's a softwood. That's softwood. That's softwood. Pretty much everything in here is a softwood. There was one that I was going to do. I think maybe this is it. I don't know. No, that was Coalwood. I believe this one's a Coalwood one. Now, Coalwood, some people will say, well, Coalwood's hard. No, it's not. It's not. Trust me. Now, this is cut off from a segmented piece that went awry. I got to take this through the joiner, flatten it out. But my idea is, and this is where I laugh at myself because I always save scrap wood. So you glue this together, right? And I was going to take and maybe do a finial out of this, but I don't know. Maybe I'll just do a small box. See how small a box I can turn. Well, here's the thing too. I usually when I turn something like this, if it's that small, what ends up happening is I have to use a drill press to drill a hole because you don't it's hard to gouge something this small. So, and a lot of guys, that's what they do. I mean, when you do resin work or bowls, it's easier for you to just gouge, take and drill the middle out, or build it so the middle is very void because you waste so much wood, and it's a lot more time consuming. And there's different ways of doing things. This is where I tell people, learn your own way. I fight it all the time. When I find if I have less tear out in the middle, then I don't have to spend as much time trying to clean up my mess inside and I can pay more attention to the outside and the curvatures I'm doing. Okay, so here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm talking about tear out. Don't know if you guys can see that, but you see all that? See all those pits? Now this is a cherry wood bowl. And so I was doing this and I'm going, see that? Now I could probably get away with doing something here, But here's the problem. Do I save it? It looks pretty good inside, right? But I show this to people because as you turn even with sharp tools, as you're turning, you get a lot of this rip out. Now, the reason why it's ripping out is because it's punky. It's punky. It mean when I call punky, it's rotting out. It's soft. This is really soft wood. You know, when you if I put on satin finish on this, like general finish or wipe on poly, this would really cool. See, but here my problem is the last time I did one of these, I spent a lot of time putting glue in here. Now, what I did is I used Gorilla Glue and I made like a bottom. I think it was one whole bottle almost in the bottom here. So when it dried, it was like shiny. It really looked nice. And sanding it wasn't a problem, but it's a lot of work. And actually, this as much as this is in the side, you got a little bit of a lip. The problem you have is, and I'm running this at 1800 or 1600 RPM. 12, am I 1600? No, 1000 RPM. Sorry, I've got 1000 RPM. When I'm doing it that way, it tends to rip out, so it's ripping out, and you don't want that. So I don't know if I could go any too much further without having an issue with it hitting the bottom. This would be taken off over here on the drill press. That's not a problem. I can grind that off on the drill press. So at this point, I'm looking at this going, what do I do with it? But see, this is what I'm talking about, soft woods. It has a tendency to pit or rip. And if your tools aren't exactly sharp, it'll show it. It'll show it. And mine were sharp to a point until you got down to the bottom here. Now, sanding is a big deal too. Sanding devices on there works out great, but with these, how deep these are, you might not get it. Okay, so this is a piece of monkey pod. Now, I started out turning this, and I got to thinking, this thing's really bad. It's really bad. See how it's ripped? Now, my tools were sharp too, but you see this? So, here's the deal. You could probably the boss told me that I could probably make this into a candle holder. It's iffy. You see, here's the thing. I could probably get all this rough stuff off, but by the time you spend trying to get, like right here is curves, by the time you do this, would I sell this? I don't know. She likes candle holders. There was one time when I was selling these art festivals, I was selling candle holders, and they were made out of birch. The birch, what I call a birch bark bowl. I love doing birch bark bowls, but the problem is now they don't exist. You can't find a piece of wood big enough to make birch bark bowls. They're all like half this size. And when I do, it's just people aren't buying wood. I love showing people this stuff. I'm in the business to do woodworking, but unfortunately, it's just not happening because people don't want wood anymore. So. Okay, so here's another one of my projects. Now this is softwood. Now this wood was spalting. This is, I believe, maple wood. You see this? Or linden. Wood is kind of cool, right? And this is supposed to be a Christmas tree, but I put that like that, right? The way this worked, I put, what did I put? I put pine cones in there. It didn't work exactly the way I wanted. It was actually much bigger. I had to take and work on it. So my idea is I'm gonna put a star on the top of this. I am gonna put rings around it, but I got to be really, really careful when I put this on the lathe. The biggest problem you might have is that it wants to wobble because this is not exactly straight. It's a little bit, and I worry about it if with all the fractures are in here of it might. So I thought about one time maybe I could take a saw, put it on here with in the chuck, and just turn it by hand and try and leave a couple of marks. I would normally use this stuff, this thing, which is dirty by the way, and this makes really good groove. But it's also easy to catch one of these things, and that's it. If this thing goes south from me, then it's just trash, not worth it. This is soft wood here, and it's been hanging around. I had it bigger, and it didn't turn the way I want it. So basically, what I'll do is once I clean it off a little bit more, this is what I'll do is I'll sell it as a candle holder, just like that. I can't. I thought that was perfect for I don't know. I'm playing around with it, but you guys could be the judge of that. It's a piece of wood, you know. Oh, and here's my other one. So now this one's a problem child. This is the reason why I have problems with these making these resin things. Anything that I put in there that's a wood, and I've listened to people talk to me about this and tell me a story and all that, blah blah blah. It's never worked out. You know why? Because I put wood in there. Anything that had to do with a fiber that can suck up moisture. These pine cones were dry when I put them in there. Heated it up. I did all kinds of stuff, and it's still fractured. Had a lot of bubbles in there. So it's kind of keep it around because I want to show people. I use it for teaching. A lot of bubbles in there. I could put a felt bottom on there, I guess, if I wanted to. And I don't know. I was going to turn it into a candle holder, but it's kind of small. So I don't know what I'm going to use it for. It's just a showpiece. When I take this to my Turner's Club meetings, they always laugh and they can't figure out, Jeff, what are you doing? And they give me 15 ways from Sunday, and I did everything that everybody told me to do, and they still come up with that. So somewhere along the line, it's not working. Okay, so this is a simple one, right? But remember, I told you, I have to go over this again, by the way. So remember, I told you, though, about burn. I guess it'd be burned. That's one of the reasons why I'm redoing it. There, it burned a little bit. But it also split right there. Right there and right there. Now, here's the funny part. 2 months ago, before it got really cold, this thing had basically had a crack on it. It was much bigger. So this is where the weather does make a difference with wood. So one guy was asking me, how come I don't do segment anymore? Well, that does affect it. Unfortunately, there isn't much you could do with the weather the way it is out here, unless you keep it dry. It has a tendency to be this thing needs being beat up. I made these a couple years ago actually, and it's unfortunately didn't turn out the way I wanted it. So it's another showpiece, but I'll fix it. I'll do something with it, and maybe I'll just give it away or something once I fix all the issues to it. But one of the reasons why I kind of don't want to do this stuff in shows anymore is because by the time I pull 20 or 30 of them with me every trip, they get dinged up and banged up, and things like that happen. Who knows? Maybe you could have dropped it. I don't know. It's one of the pieces I have done. So this is just a big old piece of wood I had scrapped one day. I was fooling around learning, and I use this now for wood, woodworking. This is my battle axe. I love this thing. I got to take and seal it though, sand it down a little bit better and seal it. But I use this for working on, with wood, tapping with wood, and it's a great piece. I love this. And I'd love to make people this stuff. I love making handles for stuff, and that's kind of the fun part. Now, I want to say this is red oak. So, or mahogany. Man, I think that's mahogany. I think this is red oak. So, all I'll say is if you ever get into doing woodworking, you got to make it fun. Um, the turning, I got this tool. I got this from Craftsman Tool Company years ago. Actually, 10 years ago. It was 2016, 15. Yeah, 16 is when I started turning. First time I ever turned anything. I thought I did it in high school, but I really didn't. So, high school. Because I did everything in high school. Yeah. But I love talking about wood because my background's forestry. I was also a firefighter for a while, so I do fire science and forestry and natural resources, and that kind of adds to all what it's kind of nice to know. Um, I mean, wood. It's kind of funny when I talk to my woodworking friends. I ask them, do they do research on it before they do the wood, before they do their projects? And sometimes they just like the color of the wood or the grain or no grain. So some of my friends build cabinets and they like wood that doesn't have any grain to it. And that's fine, but is it hardwood, softwood, what? So when you go to do some work on it, if you've got a CNC router and laser cutters and stuff, all you do is just push a program in there and you've got it dialed in and you're good, right? It's kind of not woodworking in my book. Usually, when you're doing panels for making cabinets, you got to do it with a router, have a machine that you go through. I put it on a router table and you can end up, beveling them. You can do all kinds of stuff. Same thing goes with the corners. CNC router, they get you. It does everything for you. I want to say almost everything, but and to me, it's not woodworking. Sorry, but it's okay. I mean, if that's what your toy is, the 3D printer is the other thing too. So, although I could use a 3D printer for my train layout. So, anyway. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm not turning much right now, only because I don't. The shop is clean over here, and I go back and forth a lot into the other room to do some stuff on construction work on my layout. And I've been trying to keep it clean. Now I have this tarp up here. You can see the tarp. But at this point, I think I'm going to get off and do some work on it. So, you guys have a great night.